Hello, everyone. Rachel Harrison-Sund here. Thanks so much for joining me for this first live low content publishing Q&A. So I just moved, so I'm still in a little bit of a disarray here. So there's a little bit of an echo because I haven't quite filled things up with furniture yet or anything, but I did want to take some time and just hop on and answer a few of the questions that you've been sending me. So the first question here is from Kay. And Kay says, I uploaded my first book, but the listing doesn't have the look inside feature, and only the front cover image is included in See This Image. How do I enable these features, or does Amazon add it after a certain time period? So for the look inside feature, you should instantly be able to see it. Sometimes it might take a couple of days, but basically, it should happen on its own, and if it's not visible within a few days, you can always just send KDP a message from your KDP dashboard. There's a little Contact Us button, and you can just tell them what's going on, and they should be able to figure that out for you. So that's something that they'll be able to take care of on their end. Okay, so we've got Sherry here, and Sherry says, I understand that low content books are where the money is, but are blank line journals and notebooks still lucrative? So this is an interesting one. You're going to get different answers from different people. I always recommend starting off with the line journal because they're the easiest to do, and it just helps to prove to yourself that you can understand the process and actually get something published. But once you've got that down, I recommend moving on to other niches. Because journals are the easiest, they're also the most saturated. So I would say learn the process through the journals first and then branch out into other areas. Now, having said that, I do know publishers that have based their entire low content publishing business around nothing but line journals. And some of them are making six figures doing that. So I think the key is to just experiment with different niches and find out what works for you, because what works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. So, a good friend of mine, she's making six figures doing line journals. That has never been hugely lucrative for me. It was a great place to start and start generating some sales, but I ultimately moved on and generate most of my revenue from things like planners and guest books. So you just need to find out what's working for you. Okay, so Sherry also asks, is there any rule of thumb when it comes to using matte or glossy finish for the cover? So this is a personal preference thing. Personally, I find that matte finish looks a little bit more professional. Glossy could be better if you've got a cover that's got something that's meant to look a little bit more sparkly or something like that. Or for more practical purposes, like let's say you're doing a recipe, like a blank recipe book or something like that, something that's going to be in the kitchen and you might want to be able to wipe down or something like that, then you might choose a glossy cover just because it's more conducive to that sort of thing. But in general, I normally choose a matte finish, because a matte finish to me just looks that little bit more professional. So on that similar vein there, is there any rule of thumb for choosing white or cream paper for the color? So I would say definitely go with white. The cream option, I think, generally is used for things like novels. Obviously, if you've ever read a novel, you've noticed that a lot of time it uses that kind of like really thin cream colored paper, and that's kind of what they're talking about here. So that isn't really a good idea for most low content books, I think. So in general, I would definitely stick to the white paper for that. Okay, so Peter asks a similar question to one that Sherry just asked. There are many types of low content books, such as journals, children's picture books, planners, workbooks, coloring books, etc. Which ones are the most lucrative? So again, different people have more success with certain niches over others. Like I said, I've had most of my success with planners and guest books, and a little bit of some other types of journals. But as I said before, some people have all of their success doing just the line journals. So you really have to experiment and just try out a few different things and see what works for you. And once you've got something working for you, then you can just go ahead and try and build on that. Okay, so Peter also wants to know, are paid key research tools that much better than free keyword research tools? So you can definitely get by without the paid keyword research tools. The main advantage of the paid ones is it will save you time. So, and you can also see some of the actual metrics. So for example, I can tell if someone searched for a keyword by typing it into Amazon's search bar, but if I take that same keyword and type it somewhere like merchant words, which is what I like to use, I can see how many people a month are searching for it. And it'll also give me a list of similar keywords and, generate a full list of keywords that have that root keyword in it. And that just helps me to organize my keywords in terms of competitiveness. So it ends up just saving time in general. You can definitely get by without it, but the research tools they're a time saver, basically. Okay, so next question. Peter asks, since I don't have Photoshop, do you think Google Slides would be sufficient to create both book covers and interiors of the journals and other low content books? So my advice here is just use whatever program you feel comfortable with. The end result needs to be a PDF. So, I've known people to use PowerPoint, Keynote, Canva, even Word. It's just basically whatever you feel most comfortable using, then that's the program you should use. And yeah, the main criteria is, can you get a PDF out of it at the end? Because that's what you're going to have to upload. I do like recommending Canva just because it's a pretty robust program for beginners and it's quite easy to use and intuitive. So that's one that I recommend checking out if you're not really familiar with any of those programs, but use whatever you feel most comfortable with. So Kat wants to know, what is the best-selling size? So this depends on the niche that you're in. For me, because I do a lot of planners, 6x9 tends to be the best size, just because it's kind of the right size for a daily planner that you can fit into a backpack or your purse or whatever. But then I also create additional sizes that bring in some additional sales. So for example, even though most of my planners are 6x9, I take my best selling ones and then I will also put them out in 8x10, and that just helps to generate some additional sales. So I think, the main thing when you're thinking about size is just kind of try and stay away from sizes that don't really make sense. If you're doing a planner, you probably don't want to do one of those landscape ones that are, whatever, like 5x7 horizontal. Just think about what would make the most sense for the particular type of book that you're doing. Some of those more obscure sizes can be useful for certain applications, but I wouldn't go too hard on them unless it really makes sense for the type of book that you're doing. Okay, so final question here is from Ray. Is it okay to add faint background images based on your theme every 10 pages or so to your journal or diary or logbook? Or is that defeating the purpose of low content publishing? I think it would make the product more attractive, but I don't know if buyers would want that or if Amazon would charge more for printing. So definitely, if you're using templates, I would say customize as much as you can. You really do want to be able to stand out and differentiate yourself. So adding those faint images or watermarks, quotes, anything like that you can do to customize your book is a really good idea. So I would definitely go for that. Doing that is not going to bring up your printing costs. The only way your printing costs are going to increase are if you add further pages or if you decide to make your book color instead of black and white. That will increase your printing costs. And you can always see as you're publishing the book what your printing costs are. So you can take a look at that before you publish. But in general, I definitely would recommend customizing the templates as much as you can, because that will help you to stand out. All right, so that is it for today for the questions. If you have questions for next week, you can feel free to leave them in the comments below. or you can email me via the form on my website. And you can just mention that they are questions for the Q&A, and I will get to them next time. So thanks a lot for watching, and hope that helps, guys. Have a great day.